My name is Katie McQuaid, and I'm the Vice President of External Relations here at the New Hampshire Community Loan Fund. It's good to see so many of our friends and supporters on the call today. We're so thankful that you chose to spend your lunch hour with us to learn about how we are deploying capital for a resilient future. We are using a new tool for this webinar, so none of you will be on screen, but we do want to let you know that the webinar is being recorded. Some of you were at our annual meeting in November when we talked about our vision of a future where everyone has access to the financial, human, and civic resources they need to live secure and prosperous lives, and how important you are to making that goal happen. By making a choice to invest in or donate to the Community Loan Fund, you've chosen to support your community. Today, we want to continue the conversation about how our Neighbors Helping Neighbors model is helping your neighbors build resiliency in their homes, their businesses, and their communities, and how that's making your investment in us more stable and secure. We also want to say thank you. Your donations and investments are helping our borrowers remain strong and successful by building economic, environmental, and social resilience. Our presenters will discuss our approach to deploying capital to build resiliency for about 30 to 35 minutes, and then we'll enter the Q&A portion of our presentation. To submit questions throughout the presentation, you can use the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen, and our team is going to collect your questions and get to as many as possible at the end of the presentation. So what is resilience? It's the capacity to withstand or recover quickly from difficulties. And we know that the households in our resident-owned communities, also called ROCs, can withstand a lot because they've persevered to keep their communities affordable and locally owned. But we want to make sure that they and all of our borrowers are ready for the next challenges, that they have the coaching and the guidance that they need to handle infrastructure repairs and upgrades, and that they have access to the energy solutions that stabilize their bills and make their communities more efficient. The energy solutions that are often only in the hands of the wealthy. We've recently learned some big lessons about building resiliency, and we are happy to share them with you today. Today, you're going to be hearing from two people from our resident-owned communities program, which we will also refer to as the ROC program throughout the presentation. Johanna Beachy is one of the lead coaches for our ROCs, and she works closely with one of our largest parks called Tanglewood in Keene. She's going to be talking to you today about the importance of long-term planning for ROCs in the face of natural disasters and a changing climate. Following Johanna, you'll hear from Jeannie Oliver, who is our Vice President of ROC&H and Energy Solutions. She's going to talk to you about our efforts to connect our borrowers with low-cost and cost-saving energy efficiency solutions. Take it away, Johanna.
Hi, everyone. I'm Johanna Beachy. I've been at the New Hampshire Community Loan Fund for just over a year now. I grew up right here in New Hampshire, so I'm really thankful that I get to be a part of the work that our ROC&H team does to support our communities across New Hampshire. So today we're going to take a look at a recent case study and how natural disasters are impacting the lives of our neighbors and really what we're learning about enhancing resiliency. Before we dive deeper, though, into that, how we're approaching resiliency, we want to talk about resident-owned communities, or what we call ROCs. So a ROC is a neighborhood of manufactured homes. They're owned by a cooperative of homeowners as opposed to an outside investor like a private equity firm. And the New Hampshire Community Loan Fund actually innovated the ROC model in 1983. When we helped residents of what was then called the Meredith Trailer Park come together and purchase their land. And today, that park is known as Meredith Center Cooperative, and they're now one of 151 ROCs across the state of New Hampshire that are permanently protecting more than 9,000 affordable homes. And to give you a sense of scale on this, the smallest ROC in New Hampshire is 4 homes. And the largest is 392 homes. 75% of the households are at or below 80% AMI. In fact, a park that we're working with right now, the average household income there is $30,000. So ROCs have been our focus for 40 years because it really takes an insecure form of affordable home ownership and it makes it secure in perpetuity. So it stabilizes lot rents for the people who live there. And we'll take a look just at why this model works so well. So rocks bring together neighbors to collectively accomplish more than they would on their own, right? And they also share governance and community building while they're building self-reliance. Another reason this model works is because owning a home in most rocks is more affordable than renting an apartment of similar size. And it's a wealth building asset for the homeowner. And then another reason is that the cooperatives build cash reserves to invest in infrastructure improvements so that they get to keep their communities safe, and they collectively choose and decide where they're going to invest those funds back into their community. So a ROC is a cooperative that draws its strength from the democratic process, and they follow the 7 international cooperative principles that guide all cooperatives. So in a ROC, the resident members elect from their neighbors who is going to sit on the ROC board of directors. And then the ROC board makes all the day-to-day business decisions of running their ROC. And then any really important decisions, they go back to the membership for a vote. So this model, it enables the ROC community to really make the important decisions about prioritizing what's best for their community and not just prioritizing profit, as you might see with a park owned by a private equity group. Now, while ROCs are self-governing, they are supported by community loan fund staff. So the ROC and H team that I'm a part of, we provide a wide range of support on everything from governance to best practice to finance, capital management. It's really our goal to give ROCs the tools that they need to make informed decisions about the future of their community. And additionally, besides working with us, ROCs often will also work with property management companies who provide services like rent collection, annual financial reports, and help with rule enforcement in the ROC. And then the ROCs will also contract with outside vendors who provide services like tree work, snow removal, and other infrastructure care. And we know that because each ROC is unique, it's their own community, that it's important to note that there's not like a one-size-fits-all approach with ROCs. We've found over 4 decades of helping ROCs that they really thrive when they're given guidance and best practices to be successful. So, all right, so I covered what a ROC is and how it works, but let's just take a quick look here at the loan products that the Community Loan Fund offers for manufactured home buyers. Our goal has always been to identify barriers to affordable homeownership and then lower or get rid of those barriers completely. Now, traditionally, there have been really few options for people looking to finance a manufactured home. So we innovated loan products to help make their dream a reality. So more than 2 decades ago, we introduced Welcome Home Loans. They are the nation's first fair fixed rate 30-year mortgage for manufactured homes. And prior to our program, manufactured home buyers were financing purchases through like personal loans, credit cards, and often predatory lenders. So our program lowers interest rates by as much as half for many of our borrowers, and it gives them a longer timeline to lower their monthly payments. More recently, we recognized that another barrier to manufactured home ownership was the down payment and the closing costs required by most lenders. So for many of the borrowers we worked with, they could afford the monthly mortgage, taxes, insurance of a home loan, but they didn't have significant savings set aside for a down payment. So our homeowners assistance loan program offers 0% loans to cover the down payment and closing costs. And then these loans are only repaid when the home is sold, refinanced, or until the first mortgage is paid in full. And as we talk about ROCs, that's just another important loan product that we offer. And as we look at that model overall, the ROC model, collectively, the community owns the land under the homes, and then each home rests on its own lot, as you can see here. But the neighbors cooperatively own the land together. And so overall, these loan products, they really help to lower the monthly housing costs and give residents the long-term stability that enables them to thrive. And then they can focus on building their careers, growing their families, or in a lot of cases, finding their perfect retirement home. And with all of our lending, we find that it's the combination of these loan products and coaching and guidance that ends up being really worth more than the sum of its parts. So let's take a look at resiliency through a case study of the Tanglewood Park Cooperative. Tanglewood is a relatively new cooperative. They've been a manufactured home park since the 1960s, And in 2019, the homeowners formed a cooperative. They purchased their park and they became a ROC. They became resident-owned community. And they have very engaged and committed members who really believe in the community cooperative model. So Tanglewood is a cooperative of 328 homes. So they're one of our larger ROCs that we work with. They're on 99 acres of land. So in a lot of ways, they're really kind of like a small village, right? They're tucked right into the center of Keene. It's a beautiful area and they are surrounded by hundreds of trees. Tanglewood has a 5-person board, which is about an average size for most of our cooperatives in it. It's worth noting here, all of the board members and all of our ROCs, they're volunteers. So these are volunteers who've stepped up to serve their community by serving on the board of their ROC. Unfortunately, on July 16th in 2024, a microburst hit Tanglewood. And it caused, as you can see in the pictures here, just extensive tree damage across their park. This storm, it really put their cooperative in a lot of ways, the wider ROC&H network to the test, because this was just beyond any storm damage that this community had ever seen before. There were approximately 50 homes that were damaged by trees falling. And in the initial few hours after the storm, the Keene Fire Department was right there on site and they red tagged 18 homes. So this essentially meant that for structural reasons, those 18 homes, they couldn't be lived in, right? Until they were either repaired or in some cases with some of these homes, the entire home had to be replaced before it was safe to live in. So besides the obvious impact to homeowners in this situation with the microburst, the cooperative, it also faced a really significant burden of tree removal in order to establish safety in their community. So after the microburst happened, there were approximately 900 trees that were considered damaged or dangerous. In fact, in the first 48 hours immediately following the storm, there were 57 like high priority trees that were removed. And then over the next weeks and months, there were rounds of tree work that were happening in the park, and another 400 plus trees were removed during those rounds of tree work. But there was still an estimated 500 more trees that needed tree work or to be removed completely because of the storm impact. So in Tanglewood's situation, although they had an annual tree budget of $60,000, they had great capital reserves and they had capital improvement plans in place. It still wasn't going to be enough, right, to remove all of these dangerous trees and really to restore safety in their community, in their park. So they actually used their entire annual tree budget of $60,000. Then they pulled another $200,000 from their capital reserves, and they were quoted as still needing another additional $250,000 to remove the remaining dangerous trees and restore safety. So for us, this recovery process, it really showed that Tanglewood was living up to the cooperative part of its name. Tanglewood residents, they came together to help clean up their homes and their streets. They connected with emergency services, and they were just working together to reestablish safety for their community and for their homes. The city of Keene, the local Red Cross, and a lot of local community organizations, including Lions Club, Monadnock United Way, they all helped with resources and fundraising. These photos that you show here, one shows a Tanglewood board member accepting a donation from the Lions Club to help with the cost of tree removal. And then this other one that you see here is a sign for a fundraiser that some of the residents pulled together and put on to raise funds for safety in their park. Our experience for our team working with Tanglewood, it really highlighted for us ways that our team needs to continue to prepare ROCs for the future. These are some of the things that we've really learned and we're focusing on. So in particular, we're increasing our focus on helping ROCs to develop updated capital improvement plans, and that will better prepare them to be ready for future infrastructure needs in their park. These are really forward focused. And another one is to increase capital reserves, right? In Tanglewood's case, they benefited from having a capital reserve that helped respond to the disaster, but it still wasn't enough. So that's something we have to look at and help them increase that. And ROCs will have to consider allocating more, honestly, in capital reserves to better respond to unforeseen circumstances like this. Another one is site preparation. While trees provide many benefits, right, to homeowners, ROCs need to really proactively address potentially dangerous trees to mitigate future storm damage, right? And this may include increasing the budget for annual tree services. And then at Other Rocks, we're really examining how other factors like drainage or flood mitigation can also be proactively addressed. And truthfully, the power of community, right? After supporting and working with Tanglewood over these last 8 months, for me personally, I've really seen that resilience in resident-owned communities. It's the ability for them to come together and keep moving forward, right? Even when really hard things happen. We know that these communities, they're gonna face challenges that can't be avoided, but when they have resiliency, they're able to keep working together through that challenge, right? And so we are going to continue to evaluate, improve our best practices, but these are some of what we feel are tangible steps that we can take to improve community and individual household resilience as we're moving into the future with these rocks.
Thank you so much, Johanna. Working with our rocks, we've determined that there are 61 communities that are susceptible to loss from extreme weather. And we're coaching these communities to make plans and build partnerships to better prepare for the future. Now I'm going to turn it over to Jeannie Oliver, who is our Vice President of Rock NH and Energy Solutions. Jeannie is going to talk about how we are working to reduce the energy burdens on some of our borrowers.
Thanks, Katie, and thanks, Johanna, and good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us this afternoon. As Katie said, I am the Vice President of our Resident-Owned Communities Program, and I'm leading our energy solutions work here at the New Hampshire Community Loan Fund. I started with the Community Loan Fund in 2023, which is relatively recent, but I've been working in partnership with Rock New Hampshire and Rock Communities since 2017. So before I started at the Community Loan Fund, I was a professor of law at the Vermont Law School, working in the Energy Clinic. And at the Energy Clinic, we partnered with Rock New Hampshire to establish the Rock Community Solar Model, and we led its early implementation in New Hampshire. And I'm going to speak a little bit more about that model in today's presentation. Now at Rock New Hampshire, I'm working with our team, with staff members like Johanna, to scale up our efforts in this space and bring opportunities for energy solutions to all of our borrowers here at the New Hampshire Community Loan Fund. And we think of this as a key resilience initiative. So the Tanglewood story is an excellent illustration of working together with our borrowers and partners to increase resilience in our rock communities. And we've been doing this work since 1983, as Johanna spoke to. Since that time, everything we do at Rock New Hampshire, from helping residents access capital and coaching to acquire their parks and create cooperatives, to our ongoing coaching and training programs, that's what Johanna's been doing, for example, in the Tanglewood community, has been directed at creating and maintaining resilient, self-sustaining communities. And we're constantly evolving the model to better serve our borrowers. In more recent years, our focus on resilience has included adding some specialized resources to address new challenges in our rocks. So now our team includes, for example, an infill specialist, and that person helps our rocks place new homes in their parks to increase the supply of affordable housing and add park revenue. We have an infrastructure project specialist, and this staff member helps rocks to identify finance and manage much needed infrastructure repair and upgrade projects. And those sorts of projects include things like major water and wastewater system repair and upgrades. And then we have an energy project specialist who's identifying opportunities for energy efficiency upgrades and on-site electricity and energy generation. Our goal with all of these positions is to help rocks respond to the challenges that they're facing today, like the example Johanna provided at Tanglewood, but also to prepare them for new challenges that they may face in the future so that they remain financially, environmentally, and socially strong. So let's start with one of the biggest financial challenges facing manufactured homeowners across the region. Like nationally, we know that around about 40% of residents in manufactured housing face a high energy burden. And when I say energy burden, I mean that households spend 6% or more of their income on energy costs. New England has some of the highest electricity and home heating costs in the country. And so that's why we're taking proactive efforts to bring energy solutions to our rock communities, including opportunities for weatherization, energy efficiency, and community solar. We're innovating solutions to help our borrower communities reduce energy use and energy costs, improve the comfort and health of their homes, and give ROCs and their residents greater autonomy over their energy future. And I mentioned these just a minute ago, but a few of the ways that we're helping our borrowers include weatherization and increasing energy efficiency to help lower the household demand for energy for heating and cooling. We're also exploring fuel switching to move away from more financially volatile fossil fuel energy sources like kerosene. Many of our communities are still on heating oil and kerosene. And then the installation of on-site renewable energy sources. And this can give homeowners more self-reliance over their energy situation and offset electricity bills. And finally, we also offer lending products for energy solutions to lower the barrier to change. What we've found is that partnerships and collaborations are the foundation for success for our energy solutions initiative. So energy projects can be highly technical, complex. They often involve multiple programs and funding sources. We've been really lucky to build relationships with experts working in this space. For example, we've worked with various solar developers, community action agencies, private energy efficiency work, businesses, for example, Resilient Buildings Group, municipalities, the Vermont Law and Graduate School Energy Clinic, Clean Energy New Hampshire and their circuit riders, the New Hampshire Department of Energy, USDA, and our investors who believe in the importance of this work. And I'm sure I've failed to mention a number of really important partners who have also helped us do this work. So I apologize for that. But the key takeaway is it takes all of us to make this work successful. Working together, we've been able to help inform borrowers about the opportunities for energy solutions, help them make informed decisions about energy solutions, and then when they choose to take those opportunities to implement the projects. Our work is stronger thanks to the ecosystem of partners here in New Hampshire. So we've identified that New England has some of the highest electricity costs in the country, and some of the ways that we're helping to lower the monthly burden that our borrowers face. Now I want to take some time to share more about one of those solutions that we're giving our communities, which is access to solar power. So you can see in this picture a 100 kilowatt AC community solar project. This is located at the Mascoma Meadows Cooperative in Lebanon. The Mascoma Meadows Cooperative Solar Project was New Hampshire's first ROC community solar project, and it's a really excellent illustration of partnership in action. Before I go too far into the details, for anyone on this webinar who might not be familiar with community solar, it's essentially just a shared solar project where multiple electric customers, so in this case, the households in the ROC, so Mascoma Meadows, for example, has 45 households sharing this one solar array, where those households share the benefits of the solar array. That's what community solar is. It's made possible in New Hampshire by our group net metering program, and additionally by the low moderate income community solar program. And it wouldn't be possible to do this work without the support from the legislature, the Public Utilities Commission, and the New Hampshire Department of Energy, who all made those programs possible and keep them going today. This 100 kilowatt AC project, as I said, serving 45 households in Lebanon, New Hampshire, was installed by Revision, so solar developer here in New Hampshire, in 2018, with funding from the State of New Hampshire's Renewable Energy Fund, combined with equity contributed by impact investors and some lending from the New Hampshire Community Loan Fund as well. The project is sited on land that was gifted by the park's neighbors, the Abundant Life Church. So really neighbors lifting up neighbors illustrated there. And with pro bono legal services from the Vermont Law and Graduate School Energy Clinic. And they really took the lead in developing this model. And of course, perhaps most importantly, the most important partnership, I should say, was Mascoma Meadows itself. This community really embraced the opportunity and the challenge to be the first ROC to implement a community solar project in New Hampshire and provide an opportunity to really test this model. The first model is always the hardest. There's always a lot of lessons that we learn from doing the first model. And this is now providing a roadmap for energy solutions to other ROCs, not just in New Hampshire, but throughout the country. They were really proactive, the households here at the Mascoma Meadows Cooperative, and they were involved at every step. And more importantly, they were very patient as we learned our way through this process. Today, this project offsets about 65% of the participating households' electricity use, and it's reducing their cost per household by approximately $20 to $28 a month. But it's also led to the completion of 2 additional ROC community solar projects. So I remember in 2019 getting an email from another ROC saying, hey, I read about the Mascoma Meadows community solar project. Is that something that we could do here in our community? So this idea of seeding really works. And the ROC network is a great place for sharing ideas and success. We now have plans, well, there's another 4 projects that have been funded or in various stages of development, but we have plans to really accelerate our work with community solar and ROCs with an additional 15 projects planned over the next 5 years. So now let's talk a little bit about another opportunity to do a comprehensive energy project for one of our borrowers. So a project that I'm really excited about is going to be combining the lessons we learned right from the very early days of Mascoma Meadows and then across the additional community solar projects that we've done. And we're pairing it with weatherization and energy efficiency. This is going to be a pilot project that will provide an important opportunity for data collection and storytelling to demonstrate the tangible benefits of each type of energy solution. So weatherization, energy efficiency, and community solar. And we really anticipate that this will be a model that will help ROCs nationally. We're working with the Northwoods Cooperative in Berlin, New Hampshire, so right up there in the North Country, in partnership with Tri-County CAP, the Vermont Law and Graduate School Energy Clinic, and the Clean Energy New Hampshire Circuit Riders. And this project is going to be utilizing the Weatherization Assistance Program funding, some federal and state funding, municipal support, and also private funding. The project is going to involve, as I mentioned, energy audits and weatherization upgrades, and that's really best practice when you're doing energy solutions. Start by improving the envelope of the home and reduce unnecessary energy waste. We're going to measure the energy savings following the weatherization measures, and then we're going to install energy efficient cold climate heat pumps to help transition the households away from kerosene heating. And again, after we've finished installing those heat pumps, we're going to measure the energy savings after that phase as well. At the same time, we'll be installing a community solar array that will help offset some of the electrical costs associated with transitioning to electric heat. And that will be direct energy savings on each of the household's energy bills. So, well,
one second, Jeannie, we're having some technical difficulties. We've got to reshare. So give me 1 second here to get the slides back and I'll cue you in.
Sure. While we're reloading those slides, I just want to let folks know that we're going to shift gears a little bit and start talking about energy efficient homes. So, you know, we've talked about improving the energy efficiency of existing homes through weatherization and energy efficiency retrofits. But one of the important tools that we can also use is an infill.
Jeannie, I could tee up a question for you while we kill some time.
Sure.
Who owns ROC solar projects?
Yeah, so we use 2 different types of ownership for our ROC community solar projects. And really ownership structure is going to depend on the funding source and also the community's ability to manage a solar array. So for the Mascoma Meadows project, that one is owned by a third-party investor. It was funded partially by grant funds and partially by impact investors and lending. But we have other projects where they are either fully grant funded or the community was able to raise funds to pay for the entire cost of the solar project. And so in that case, the ROC itself owns the project and they manage that project for its lifetime.
All right, it sounds like we're still having technical difficulties, so maybe I'll tee up a question for Johanna. Hold on 1 second. Here we go. Johanna, you had mentioned earlier that the ROCs they work on the 7 cooperative principles, and this is something that we that's part of our coaching and technical assistance that we provide the communities. Can you tell us what those are?
I should be able to. I teach them, so this will be a good test to run through them. Yeah, those 7 they're international cooperative principles that all co-ops use. So any cooperative that you heard of is going to be following these same guidelines. So the first one is democratic member control. So like we said, it's a democratic process, and the membership are the ones deciding things and voting, and it's democratic is the first one. The second one is open and voluntary membership. So that means essentially no one can force them to become a ROC, and they also can't like keep certain people out of becoming a ROC. So it's open and voluntary membership. The third one is membership economic participation. So kind of like we talked about, they're running the finances of that, and they're participating and develop the economics of their ROC. The fourth one, let's see, forgot I got 3. Fourth one, oh, Jeannie, you might have to
Also, if you can't remember them all, it's okay, because I
might go out of order.
Our technical difficulties have been solved, I'm hearing, so we can continue.
All right.
On.
Maybe we'll cue that up and I'll finish them after I've had a chance to double check.
Perfect.
I'm skipping the fourth one, but that's where we've got the first 3 so far.
All right, Jeannie, back to you.
Yes, I'll transition now to Energy Star Homes. So I've been talking a lot about weatherization and energy efficiency in the existing housing stock, but it's really important to also address energy efficiency in new homes. So I mentioned earlier that we've created a new position in the last several years for an infill specialist. So that's someone who helps ROCs fill their vacant lots. And that is a key part of our resilience initiative. And we also have our Welcome Home Loans team that helps new home buyers purchase manufactured homes and move into ROCs. We've talked already a little bit about our homeowner assistance loans and how those can help with down payment and closing costs for home buyers wanting to move into ROCs. And now we're using those homeowner assistance loans to incentivize borrowers to purchase energy efficient homes. So, you know, we don't need to do those retrofits. They're energy efficient from day one. Last July, our entrepreneurial Welcome Home Loans team modified our traditional down payment and closing cost assistance loans to incentivize the purchase of Energy Star certified homes. Now, Energy Star certified homes have enhanced insulation. They have high performance windows. And this is really key because actually when you're retrofitting a manufactured homes, windows often aren't included in those retrofits because you don't get enough bang for your buck, so to speak. So having these high performance windows from the very beginning is a really great feature. The Energy Star homes also include efficient heating and cooling systems, and these meet strict EPA standards. They're designed to be more energy efficient than the standard manufactured homes, and they lead to lower utility bills, increased comfort, and reduced environmental impacts. Our traditional homeowner assistance loans provided up to $25,000 at zero as a 0% second silent mortgage for newly built homes. Now we're offering an additional $10,000 in assistance, so $35,000 in assistance if those new home buyers choose to purchase a new Energy Star certified home. Since launching this program last year, we've seen a huge shift in borrower demand. So 63% of new home buyers that we provided lending to selected Energy Star manufactured homes compared to 0% in the previous year. And prior to offering this program, local manufactured home dealers weren't even offering Energy Star homes. So this is a really great example of how our lending and our borrowers are changing demand in the market. We have new net zero homes on the horizon. So those are homes which have even higher energy efficiency standards and also the potential for on-site self-generated power to offset all of the energy needs in the home. And so right now we're watching that development very closely to see how we can help our borrowers and combine that with our lending products to incentivize those developments. We're also providing energy solutions in our small business program. So we've taken the same learnings from building energy efficiency within ROCs and manufactured homes, and we're helping our small business borrowers to lower their energy burden as well. So you can see in these photos, this is the Mill Village Country Store in Stoddard. It's a market that is an essential resupply spot and gathering place for many people in the local community there. It's owned by Libby Branch, and it's managed in partnership with her sister. The store was widely popular in the summer, especially with visitors to Highland Lake, but it was struggling in the winter, especially with rising heating costs. So we worked with them to get an energy audit done, and that identified opportunities for upgrades to reduce their energy burden. We've also worked to find funding that could help the store address these areas so that it could lower its monthly heating costs and stay open throughout the year, so not just in the summer when they were thriving. Again, the secret to our work here is the ability to provide both loans and coaching and guidance to help borrowers make the best decisions in their community and business. And this is possible because of the support that donors, investors like you make. And with that, I'm going to hand it back to Katie.
Thank you so much, Jeannie, and also Johanna, for sharing how we are helping our borrowers grapple with the realities of increased damaging storms and volatile fossil fuel prices. We are committed to this work and have even made climate mitigation and energy solutions a key component of our 5-year strategic plan. In recent years, we've invested more than $6 million in energy solutions for ROCs, businesses, and nonprofits, and we expect that investment will grow exponentially over the next 5 years. Many of you have reached out to ask how we're doing during this time of cutbacks in federal programs, specifically the uncertainty around the greenhouse gas reduction funds. The good news is that we had planned to do energy solutions lending prior to these federal programs, and we will continue to move ahead regardless of what happens at the federal level. The even better news is that you can help us continue this work with more low-cost lending capital and donations and grants to support the very specialized coaching and guidance that we provide. As an organization, we are excited about what embracing energy efficiency lending and a resilience framework delivers for our borrowers. Though the changing climate presents many challenges to overcome, it also presents opportunities for innovation, new investment, and equitable growth and prosperity. When you support us with a donation or an investment, you not only make our traditional loans possible, but you make this very specialized and critical work possible through coaching and guidance, whether that's working with a resident-owned community to create a capital improvement plan and add solar, or a business owner to save money by weatherizing their shop, or a homeowner to purchase an Energy Star rated home. So once again, thank you to Jeannie and Johanna, and thanks to all of the supporters that joined us today. Now we have a little bit of time for a few questions. Again, you can use the Q&A icon on the bottom of your Zoom screen, and we are going to get to as many as possible. Okay. We already talked about who owns ROC Community Solar Projects. Ivor has asked, roofs are better places, for solar panels than raw land. Is that true, Jeannie? Or do you have a comment on that?
I do have a comment on that. So yes, roofs can be great places for solar arrays, and with the new net zero manufactured housing, that will be a possibility. But for the older manufactured housing stock, that's simply not possible. They weren't designed for that additional loading. And so for most of our rocks where the homes aren't brand new and they're not net zero ready, community solar really is the best opportunity for them. Thank goodness in New Hampshire, we support community solar through our group net metering program. Many rocks have land available for community solar projects. There are some rocks that don't. In that case, we'll be looking at offsite land to do community solar projects to serve rocks that may not be able to do it on their own land.
Thank you. We have a question for our friend Karen Chamberlain. Thank you so much, Karen. Karen asks if we have any bridge loans for clients who were expecting government grants that may have been suspended or canceled, and how we are helping clients who are relying on government funding for the success of their projects that we were participating in. So we encourage anyone to reach out. We're still watching, like everybody else is, what is going on with these government funds. A lot of them are tied up in the courts. One of the biggest projects that we're really excited about, and that we are waiting on to find out about the federal funding for, is that Northwoods project, that rock retrofit that Jeannie talked about. We're not giving up hope. We're going to watch and wait, and we're still going to move the project forward. We might have to do it with private funders, and that's why we're really hoping that our community is going to step up and help us make that happen. So again, if anyone does need a bridge loan or something else to make a project work that is waiting on federal funds, I encourage you to reach out to us, and we will connect you with our lending team. We're always going to try to find the solutions that our borrowers need. This is an anonymous question, and I don't know if it should go to Jeannie or Johanna, so I'll let either of you jump in. Asking if the parks are required to have insurance that covers things like tree damage.
So Johanna, do you want to take that one? I know insurance has been a big topic for our communities recently.
Yeah, I mean, I can speak to that, and I'm sure Jeannie could add more into. In Tanglewood's case, so the cooperative does have insurance. In Tanglewood's case, the tree damage didn't damage anything that was owned by the cooperative. So if it had fallen on, they have an office in a clubhouse, that sort of thing, insurance covers things like that. But in their case, and which is the case in most cooperatives, the homeowners own their home, right? So any tree damage falling on their home is the homeowner's home insurance that kicks in. So in the situation with Tanglewood, there was no insurance coverage from the cooperative to cover the damage on individual homeowners' homes. Their own homeowners insurance is what kicks in that instance. And I know many of them did have homeowners insurance and were processing claims and dealing with all of that. So in the cooperative model, that's kind of the distinction. They do have insurance. Many of it would cover things like if a tree fell on cooperative property, but the homeowners have their own homeowners insurance. So there's a little bit of a distinction there. And Jeannie, I don't know if you want to add anything more in there specific about insurance, but for cooperative.
That covers it. Thanks, Johanna.
Oh, okay. Here's one for Jeannie from Jamie, is asking, what is the best way for a household to approach upgrading its energy efficiency? Like, where do you start?
Yeah, so we've had weatherization assistance program and in New Hampshire Saves programs for a long time. And part of the challenge is just finding that information, right? Because the information is in multiple places. Part of what we're doing here at ROC New Hampshire is bringing that information together in one place and bringing it to the communities so that it's much easier for them to access weatherization upgrades either through the weatherization assistance program or through the utility program New Hampshire Saves. But the best place to start is by reaching out to either us or to their CAP agency. So the CAP agencies have been working in this space for a really long time, and they will help homeowners determine what they're eligible for, and then start them in the process of getting their energy audit. So that's always a really great place to start, is your local CAP agency.
And remind us what CAP stands for?
Yes, Community Action Program. And there's CAP agencies throughout New Hampshire and regional offices. So, yeah.
Wonderful. We have another question from Ivor, and he is asking how many new rocks are expected this year? And we might not have an actual number, but we might know of one. Jeannie, do you want to take that?
Yeah, typically we see like 2 to 3 conversions each year. I guess it's March now, and we have one in the process. So I think probably we're expecting a typical year, 2 to 3 new rocks. But you know, it's always there is, I guess, no regular year, right? It's going to depend on many different factors. So that's the best we can predict for now.
I will jump in and say one of the biggest challenges to converting a rock from private ownership to resident ownership has been the increasing costs of these parks. So, you know, obviously we're in an extreme housing shortage, especially affordable housing, and private equity buyers are buying up parks as fast as they can because they are they're a great source of passive income. And you know, not all private equity buyers are bad players, but a lot of them will come in and they'll raise up the lot rents and kind of increasingly make the park unaffordable for the residents. To compete with the prices that are being offered by these private equity buyers, it's really pushing us to raise low-cost capital to make the parks affordable. So we're working with a park right now. It's one of our largest transactions, and we're working with a bunch of different funders to put together the capital needed to make this park affordable for the residents. They really want to buy it, and we really want to help them buy it. But that's why we're constantly, you know, talking about our need for below market capital. So if we were going to charge these residents market rate loans, they wouldn't be able to afford the park. So we're really proud of our team for bringing together all the partners we need to make this transaction affordable. Okay, I think we'll do one more question, and this will be for Johanna. Can you tell us, you know, what does a typical day in the life of a rock board look like? And what might a typical budget look like? And maybe you can give us examples of a rock that is new and a rock that's been around for a long time.
Sure. Yeah, and I'm going to take like 30 seconds. I can't leave you all hanging wondering what the other 4 of the cooperative principles are. I ran through them in my head. So real quick right now, we went through the first 3. So open and voluntary, democratic member control, membership, economic participation. The 4th one, which is what we had gotten to, is independent and autonomous. So no one else is in charge of it, right? They're running it. The 5th one is continued education and learning, which is one that we love because our Rock and H team does a lot of that training and continued learning. And then the 6th principle is cooperation among cooperatives. So there's a lot of opportunity for that when our rocks work with like electric co-ops around the state. And then the last one is care for community. So those are the 7 cooperative principles that any co-op runs off of. So now you've got them all. Yeah, so a typical day for a board. So reminder that they're volunteers, right? So a lot of them, honestly, in their day-to-day, they're working full-time jobs. Many of them, I've worked with quite a few that have families and they have kids and they have busy schedules just like any of us do. All of our rock boards, for the most part, all meet monthly. So they're having a monthly board meeting. And they have processes, most of them in for things like how people contact the board. If emergencies pop up, they're the contact for like, there's like sewer issues that are popping up or things like that. They have a way to reach the board. So if there's emergency things or immediate things coming up that the board needs to address, they have ways for the community to contact them. But most of them are meeting monthly and they're dealing with the day-to-day business of the park. It's like a very typical board meeting that you might have seen anywhere else. They use parliamentary procedure and they're going through a series of things that they have to as they go through the business of running their park. Members come to those board meetings. If there's business that needs to be conducted outside of that, outside of their normal monthly meetings, our boards have a process for the action without meeting, right? Something needs to be signed, if a decision needs to be made and it can't wait till next month's board meeting, they have a process for being able to do that and get that business done. And as far as a budget for a typical, so again, it's a very wide range, right? We've got the ones that are 4 homes all the way up to the ones that are almost 400 homes in their parks. So as you can imagine, the budget for something like that amount wise varies really widely, but the structure in there is pretty consistent as far as they all have capital reserves. They all have maintenance and operating line items for running the park and the day-to-day operations that they need for it. They all have things in there for vendors and tree service and they all have things in there that are related back to what they're required for, service to their lenders. So things like contractual stuff that they have to have in certain amount of reserves. They have to have a certain amount set aside for savings and things like that. So those aspects of a budget are standard, and we work with all of the rocks on that like template they also work with their property managers on that. But the range of budgets varies very widely depending on the size of the park and what their income is from lot rent based on how many homes they have in their park. And so that varies pretty widely.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Johanna. And thank you again to Jeannie and to all of you for spending your time with us today. We couldn't do any of this work without your support. And we encourage you to reach out to us with any additional questions, concerns that you have, or any ideas of how you think we can better help our borrowers be more resilient in this changing economic and political climate. So we'll close that out, and we look forward to seeing you all soon. Have a great day.